That high-performing teams use, whether it's a nonprofit, a city, a billion-dollar company, an enterprise. It's a valuable tool, and I found it, as I was preparing this information, sort of fell into those buckets. So I hope you find the update helpful, and that it answers some of the questions you may have come in with, and it may inspire more questions that you can ask about shortly. So if you came for another reason, you might be bored out of your minds for 20 minutes. So sit back and relax for a bit. I unfortunately have to wear my glasses probably because the lighting in here is so terrible. And I don't like to wing it, because if you wing it, you could be here for an hour listening to me. So please bear with me when I'm reading from my notes here. First, I want to be grateful that I'm joined by some of my partners in public service here tonight. I want to recognize them. The Honorable Mayor Jeanette McCarthy just came in, and she is in the back, as always. At-large councilors, Patrick O'Brien, also a lifelong resident of Ravenswood and Cedarwood. Council President Kathleen McMenamin. Councilor at Large and State Rep Tom Stanley. Councilor Ward 9, Kathy Ann Harris. 8.
Everybody gets that wrong.
Councilor Ward 8, Kathy Ann Harris. Councilor of Ward, am I going to mess this one up? Ward 4, Sean Durkee. Ward 6. Well, I know who I represent. Ward 7. So that's that's all that matters. Councilor of Ward 6, Sean Durkee. Councilor at Large Randy LeBlanc will be here shortly. He's just finishing up at his son's hockey game. I think I got all of the councilors in attendance, and also Johnny Russo, Community Policing Coordinator for the Waltham Police, is here as well, and maybe to answer some questions. He's been invaluable in other meetings. And so to all of you, thank you for being here tonight. So as of tonight's February 2nd, tonight I have been officially a city councilor for exactly 13 months. And I, along with one other councilor, an at-large councilor, we're the new people on the council. So compare my 13 months to another councilor. I think she can remain nameless, but you'll know who she is, who has served for 37 years with 68 different councilors and 4 different mayors. There's really a span of experience here. Information isn't simply handed to us when we join the council. There's a lot of digging, there's a lot of investigation we need to do. It takes a lot of time, and it definitely takes some practice. I've never held a public office. I never took a poli-sci course, which is extremely unusual for a Brandeis student. I might be the first Brandeis student to graduate without a poli-sci course. My focus has always been on my family, my career, my music, character, identity, and not always in that particular order. My campaign budget was very modest. I never held a fundraiser. I never held an event before or after the election. I wasn't able to hold a thank you event after the election because of COVID and conflicting priorities. So let me just take this opportunity to say it's an honor to work for all of you and to be given this opportunity and to demonstrate my dedication to the issues and the concerns that we have. I don't have, and I say this to people when I meet them for the first time, I don't have, and I've never had, any ambitions to be a politician. And I don't consider myself a politician. I strive to be a statesman. My ambition is only to do its best at any given time for a given situation. And it might not always be the popular thing, but it should be the right thing. So will I second guess myself from time to time? Absolutely, I've done it. And though not everyone may agree, I've said that people deserve to know how I based a decision on the facts that were before me and that it wasn't based on a personal feeling. I was elected by the people in the neighborhoods, and I promised that my focus would be on our ward. But city councilors also take an oath to protect the interests of the city, and the two focuses need to align, even though at times it might be hard for everyone to see that. And there are 5 principles, and I call them my pillars, that I wrote when I was elected and what guide me. And they're really simple. If you say you're going to do something, do it, and do it well. Act honestly, speak truthfully, take responsibility, admit when you're wrong, appreciate other points of view, and don't dismiss them, and have the courage to do the right thing even when it's difficult. These can be summed up better, and they take up a lot more space, and I quote that Harold Kushner wrote, "Do things for people not because of who they are or what they do in return, but because of who you are." So when I hit the ground running last January, I met with many city departments. I've been impressed by many of our city workers, by the first responders, by department heads, many faces that none of us ever see day to day who keep the city running. I realize that we have frustrations, and I hear, when is this going to get done? Why wasn't my street plowed sooner? Why haven't our leaves been picked up? And believe me, I'm asking the same questions too a lot of the times. But the big picture that in a city of 65,000 plus residents, plus taking into account all the people that come here to shop, all the people that come here to work, all the people that come to visit, the buses, the trains, the cars, the trucks. It's very respectable what gets done, and I think our city workers do an excellent job, and at times they actually exceed expectations. As a counselor and as a parent of a child in the Waltham schools, I'm grateful to the teachers who have a monumental job, and I might argue maybe it's the most important job in the city. We have challenges in our schools to overcome, but every Waltham student is given an opportunity to learn and expand their horizons in ways that surpass many of the surrounding communities. I've sat next to the mayor at school concerts, and I think both of us were crying at just how impressive and heartwarming and it was to see these kids. We have many outstanding instances of students excelling in academics and sports and fine arts. And just last night I spoke at the school committee about the wonderful opportunities Waltham is known for and that we must continue to offer. I'm impressed by and I'm grateful to the lay leaders and volunteers in the community. It's not just the elected officials that are working hard, it's our volunteers. And these are people that care for the homeless and help feed the hungry. And it's active engagement that people like this and the caring that they demonstrate that make for great communities. It's been really wonderful to meet many new people, whether it's in person or people that have reached out to me by email and by phone. And finally, running for election and taking on the role of a city councilor has a bit of an impact on the family. And for that, I'm grateful to the support and encouragement, as well as the proofreading and reality checks that I get from Sharon, who's here tonight too. And Jacob couldn't be here, he's got rehearsal at school. And I get their advice whether I ask for it or not. As a city councilor, I work for everyone in the ward, whether they vote or not, whether they're full-time residents or not. So to that point, I supported Brandeis students when I discovered there was potential mold in their dorms, and a safety issue after a student was struck by a car crossing South Street. And even responding to help, a request for help from a precarious bird's nest on a windowsill at the East Quad. Commercial property managers have reached out to me as well for support when they just don't know where else to turn. My feeling is that we're all in this together, that if you live here or work here, I want to have your back. And I answer and return every call. I'll reply to every email from ward residents. I'll try to acknowledge anyone who takes the time to contact me. I'm appointed to 4 city committees: the Committee on Public Works and Public Safety, the Committee on Licenses and Franchises, the Ad Hoc Cable Access Committee, and the Ad Hoc Master Plan Committee. And I've met many of you and spoken at the master plan meetings that were held last year. I've held many neighborhood meetings. I've joined many pop-up neighborhood meetings, and as a member of the master plan meeting, participated in 7 meetings where close to 200 people spoke, and taken notes on all of those for future meetings. I don't assume that people just know how to get in touch with me, and I've been going door to door to encourage people to stay in touch, to sign up for my email list, and be sure you have my phone number and address, and I hope you perceive that, and there are some additional cards up on the table. And my attendance record is pretty good. I only had to miss 1 meeting in all of last year for a religious obligation. Other than that, attended every council, committee of the whole, and committee meeting. I used to think of Ward 7 as a sleepy corner in Waltham, and in some ways we are. We have about 3,000 registered voters, about 7,500 residents living in 6 distinct neighborhoods that stretch along South Street to Market Basket. It's a mix of single family and multifamily. We have 3 beautiful and very popular parks, and we have riverfront property. We have a world-renowned research university. We have 3 major thoroughfares that cause us all a bit of stress: South Street, Main Street, Weston Street. But let's look at, I think, the most important number to me. 3 very good and each unique pizza restaurants. It was previously 2, but through rezoning, redistricting, we picked up another one. And soon we're going to have an Italian bakery that makes me very, very happy. We will have covered all the bases. It's thanks to the leadership in our city and to all the people in our community that I can say that our ward is strong. Our strengths, the first element of our SWAT plan, is that we have a strong community, we have beautiful neighborhoods, we have dedicated residents, and trying to be a dedicated counselor, trying to be responsive to all the resident issues that have been raised to me. So let's start with our threats. Traffic. Addressing traffic has been a full-time job. It's been a priority and one of my biggest focuses this year. Whether it's caused by apps like Waze that have redirected traffic into our neighborhoods, or the popularity of our parks that have inundated the neighborhood with cars and ensuing traffic and trash issues, traffic has been a priority. I've been before the Traffic Commission with more than 10 requests this year, to the point that I thought that they would rename the meeting to the Waltham Traffic Commission featuring Paul Katz. But we have gotten a lot of wins. We have gotten safety improvements, we have gotten stop signs, we have gotten signal improvements, and there are still matters pending. We didn't get every request approved. I've stood next to the mayor as requests were denied, but we have made a lot of progress this year to address traffic issues, and we will be making more. Protection of our neighborhoods. Some consider this to be a student housing issue, but it can apply to any rental situation. The bottom line is that we've got to get a message out to the non-resident homeowners that they need to respect our neighborhoods. The trash, light, noise, public safety issues, the impact on the neighbors, the impact on your quality of life won't be tolerated. I hold the owners accountable. Similar issues exist in Ward 6, and Councilor Durkee, who is here tonight, and I have been focusing on the issue, and we have actually seen progress, maybe for the first time in many years, with more engagement from the building and the law department. The law department is contacting homeowners, the law department is contacting owners and telling them that they must rent in a manner that's conducive to the implied expectations of a residentially zoned neighborhood. However, it is a bit of a game like whack-a-mole. As one situation is addressed, another appears, so we can't let up on this. And it's also worth mentioning that Airbnbs are not allowed in Waltham, and with the tip of a neighbor, we stopped an Airbnb on Villa Street. Light, we are fortunate not to have a big issue with this in Ward 7, but when you see one bad property, it sends the wrong signal and it stands out. I call it the broken window theory. And I'm happy to report, as many of you have asked, that the property at 151 South Street that had a fire more than 3 years ago is finally going to be torn down. Development, I don't think everyone is aware of the amount of commercial property in the ward, but more specifically, the potential development of this commercial property. In the 2007 Master Plan report, I'm going to quote, "Commercial properties in Ward 7 have tremendous expansion capacity via special permits. Overall, projected special permit commercial development will nearly quadruple the amount of commercial space in the ward. 31 commercial properties in the ward can add nearly 5.75 million square feet of commercial space by special permit. 12 of these parcels can accommodate over 100,000 square feet of new commercial development, including parking garages." And I'm going to speak a little bit more to that shortly. And as a ward councilor, I also do have a say in issues that affect the entire city. Again, I want to keep focused tonight on Ward 7, but I'm always going to have an eye out to support initiatives that concern housing, energy, transportation, open space, and education. And here are some opportunities that we have. Opportunities for Ward 7 and the citywide. Climate change. I would like to see new developments taking some step toward addressing the issue. LEED certification is one step. These are better buildings that people want to work in, and Waltham developers recognize this. Waltham has over 90 LEED or green certified buildings that range from the Stanley School to most of the commercial properties along up on 1265 and Wyman and Smith. Every commercial or residential developer should be prepared to answer, how is your project going to be sensitive to the threat of climate change? And new homes and major renovations should be considering best practices, especially for conservation. For traversing the city, I'd like to see the day when someone who lives in Angleside or Roberts or Cedarwood can get on a path, a footpath or a bike path, and connect to the new east-west rail trail and go north to the high school or to the farm or to Veterans Field. I think of it like the Emerald Necklace. We could call it the watch necklace. It's pretty cute. You know, let's make it easier to get across the city east, west, north, south by other means than a car. But the answer isn't going to be to just drop a bike lane on Lexington Street. This is something that the Master Plan Committee is going to look into further. It's a complicated issue. It needs to be done well. It needs to be done sensitively. For housing, high-density complexes are not the only answer, but I'm not sure I'm ever going to see the development of a neighborhood of starter homes. Although the Baker administration did put forth a flawed starter home district proposal. But there are creative options, and one step that I'll be taking shortly, at the suggestion of a Ward 7 resident who's here tonight, is to bring forth a resolution to the council to study how we can draw more benefit from accessory dwelling units to help address affordable housing. We already allow ADUs in Waltham. In addition to organically expanding housing stock, ADUs can provide a way for seniors to stay in their homes. They provide a smaller footprint housing option with less impact on the environment, and they increase the options for people who work in our community to give them more options to live in our community affordably. Newton and Dedham have done a lot of work in this area, so it deserves to be studied. But to my previous point, we want to do this sensitively so it doesn't impact single-family neighborhoods in a way that they will feel hurt. Ecology, I want to look into more opportunity for dense plantings. Some refer to it as the Miyawaki method of forestry, where you can build a forest that has the benefits of large parcels in a very small parcel of land. We should be encouraging pollinator gardens and vertical gardens. And we have opportunities in the ward to do this. I like to say plant and they will come. And we have some incredible gardeners that I've met walking door to door in the community. There's some very impressive plants if you want to walk through the neighborhoods. Veterans. Just last week, Councilor Durkee and I sponsored a resolution that Waltham consider a Hometown Heroes banner program to recognize and honor our veterans and our active duty service members along the main streets. I'm very excited about this program. And now there are two other issues I want to speak to briefly that aren't specifically, again, a ward issue, but I know many constituents are interested in. I responded to many questions and commentary about what's happening at Healthy Waltham and the Waltham Farm. So I'm just going to summarize this here, and later tonight, if there are more questions, the mayor's here, she could answer more. But again, focus on the board. Healthy Waltham. Last Thursday, I volunteered at Healthy Waltham's pantry. Councilor Harris and Bradley MacArthur, Councilor Bradley MacArthur at large also has come in tonight. Welcome. Councilor Harris and Bradley MacArthur were also there. And we got to see the operation firsthand, and it was impressive. I was impressed by all of the volunteers. I got shouted at a few times for being a bad pallet mover, but it's hard on a driveway. But it's impressive what they accomplish. Maria DiMaggio, who leads the charge of the volunteers, is a rock star. People are wondering if the City Council cares about Healthy Waltham. People are concerned about Healthy Waltham finding a place to conduct a food pantry. What I can say is that the continuation of their services is certainly important. And worrying about a risk that there could be disruption, I've been looking for space in our ward that would be appropriate to handle the scope of their operation, albeit on a temporary basis, so that they don't have to experience a disruption in service should they need to move from the current location prematurely. But to the narrative that the city doesn't care or the worry that the city doesn't care or support, the city provides Healthy Waltham with 4 city locations for storage, for truck and van parking, and food distribution. And without cost, the city provides utilities, dumpsters, rubbish disposal, pallet disposal, recycling, pest services, police details, CPW trucks, and workers on overtime. And again, the work that the Healthy Waltham staff and volunteers do is impressive, but they are doing it in partnership with the city. And to the future, and supporting the organization in their quest for a permanent home, the mayor did notify the city council that RFPs will be sent to us for city properties or land that will be available for anyone to bid on by law. And again, if there are questions later, I will let the mayor or the appropriate ward councilors respond in more detail. And for the community farm, Waltham Community Farms, this former UMass property was at risk of being sold. Developers wanted it. Bentley wanted it for dorms. Simmons College wanted it. Children's Hospital wanted it. I'm sure anyone who wanted to build anything in Waltham wanted that. And there were many names being thrown about for buying the land and building on it. And it was really thanks to the efforts of a lot of people. The mayor, councilor, and state rep Tom Stanley, a ward councilor, and many others who I don't even know. Through their efforts, the city was able to purchase the land from UMass for open space, recreation, and agriculture. And now the city needs to proceed with the required environmental remediation to make the land safe for the intended purpose, and this includes soil and building remediation. Once this is done, the mayor can move forward to prepare RFPs so that interested parties can apply fairly without bias for a lease. I am anything but anti-farm, and I support the mayor's vision for the purchase that, in her words, if Cornelia Warren were to look over her land from her former house on Beaver Street, she would see a clean farm benefiting the city of Waltham inhabitants and beyond. So let's drive back into Ward 7. I drive through our neighborhoods regularly to the point where sometimes I feel like the sheriff going through town. I kept my Catskill Ward 7 bumper sticker on as long as possible, just to make me recognizable. So neighbors would see me and maybe stop and talk to me if they saw my car. But to my previous point of running a modest campaign budget, I only purchased 12 stickers. Some of them were defective, and I just sold my car, so I'm out of stickers. You'll just have to look for me in the window. But, let's be honest, I'm not the sheriff. And obviously I'm not a sheriff. And I'm not law enforcement, I'm not the CPW. I rely on everyone to raise issues with me so that I can address them. It's impossible for me to know everything that's going on without you. And to the many who have reached out this year, I hope I proved to you by my actions and to others that we can address issues and make Waltham better step by step. And I'm doing my best to stay in front of people, again, knowing how to reach me, walking door to door, not campaigning, to make sure you have one of these cards and put it in the refrigerator and throw darts at it if you want to. But sign up for the email list, call me if the number's listed, email me. That's why I'm here. I didn't take on the role of being a city councilor for my health and enjoyment. I did it to get stuff done. I use social media to inform and not to debate. I want to engage in discussion, and unfortunately social media is based on quick reactions, one-liners, and rage. It craves confrontation and resents contradiction. And the capacity for rational discourse between people who disagree is rotting. So as a society, we are constantly being pulled in the direction of impersonal means, impersonal disconnect. And I refuse to lose sight of who we are at heart, and that will not come across on chat. When Carol on Keith Street, I don't know if she's here tonight, but when Carol on Keith Street called to say that the handicap accessible mailbox was removed from the post office, she reached out to me. She was proactive, and she didn't just complain on Facebook and look for likes and angry emojis. And as a result, we were productive and we got it done. And there are many, many more examples like this. Not having a daily or a weekly newspaper is a real detriment. It's hard for people to be educated and get an objective understanding of what is happening. And it's getting harder and harder to find this information. And I'm amazed by the misinformation and the hostility that is spread on Facebook. When someone can just call a ward counselor or a city department and have the question answered and have the issue addressed, because that's why we're all here. So before I end tonight and I end my comments and open it up to questions, let's touch on some of the weaknesses and threats that we're facing. Starting in the south, the potential sale of the Charles Bank complex. To many, it's an affordable property. A sale is going to create uncertainty. The fact that it's up for sale is creating uncertainty. The monthly rent for many longtime residents is affordable. Many are seniors, and there are concerns about what could happen to the property. What will someone do to it? Charles Bank Gardens and Charles Bank Estates combined is 424 units. I want to quote their real estate listing. Waltham is one of the most desirable suburbs to live and work in the Boston area. And this is, again, to clarify, this is a real estate listing to sell all 424 units, to sell the property. Charles Bank Estates offers a vast amount of untapped value by increasing rents to market levels, as well as the opportunity to implement a comprehensive unit renovation program that would generate significant rent upside. Combined with the fact that the property has 100% market rate units, this fully leased community presents an extremely rare opportunity in the Boston market, offering a new owner the ability to increase rents without any restrictions. It's a private sale, it's a private matter, but it's a major concern for all of us. 1486 Main Street. This is just as you're crossing into Weston on Route 117. This proposed 40B is before the ZBA for a comprehensive special permit. The original proposal was to shoehorn in, and I literally mean shoehorn in, 196 units. It's an out-of-scale development, and it's proposed just 15 feet from an abutter's home in Weston. I get calls from people in Waltham, but now I'm getting calls from people in Weston. And I don't blame them, that there could be a 5+ story building with dozens of apartments 15 feet from their house. As originally presented, a fire truck, let alone a ladder truck, would not be able to access all the sides of this building. At the last ZBA meeting, the project has been reduced to 160 units, and a street has been put around the development to allow the setback required for a fire truck. The issue is still before the ZBA, and because it's a 40B, it doesn't come before the council. But I have spoken to the ZBA to express concerns, and to anyone that's interested, I'll make the comments available to you. I'll update my website to put comments like that, to post comments like that so that people can see what some of the concerns are. That's 1486 Main. 1362 Main Street. Currently the site where Plywood Supply is in the former Giant department store. The developer is seeking a special permit for intensity of use and floor area ratio to construct a new 5-story office and lab building with an attached 5-story 6-level parking structure, 2 proposed driveway openings onto Main and Jones Road. This development is allowed because this is a commercially zoned parcel. And although there will be traffic improvements, there is a threat to us that it's going to change the view for many who live along Livingstone, Milton, Dorchester, Colburn, and Keach, and parts of Cedarwood too. And if it's built before the needed road improvements, we're going to be threatened by more traffic in our neighborhoods. It's an improvement on the site in one area, in one regard, but it's a threat in another. We have 4 allowable cannabis dispensary in Waltham. Waltham can grant 4 dispensaries. 3 have been approved, if you haven't heard yet. 235 Bear Hill Road, 305 2nd Avenue, and 126 Bear Hill Road. That means we have 2 outstanding applications. One is on Bear Hill Road, and the other one is at 1256 Main Street at Cutting Lane. Many residents came to the public hearings to express concerns about the traffic and how this location abutting their homes will have a negative impact. And last week on January 23rd, we received a 6th special permit application for a dispensary at 1250 Main Street. This is the location of Steve's Pizza and the Buy and Consign store. It's just across the entrance from 1265. And it abuts even more homes along Cutting, Stowe, Ravenswood, and Main. The developer would demolish the current building and build a new one. The community meeting that they had for input was over a year ago. It was in January of 2022. And since then, their plans have changed. A unique feature of this lot is that a residential zone cuts through their property. And it is unclear to us right now what they intend to do in that portion on the back of the lot. Last week's City Council public hearing was recessed because the application was incomplete by an eagle-eyed councilor, as the city engineer had not signed off on the plans. So questions, concerns for us include the storm drain and the water collection on site, which would probably be in the backyard, again, right in our neighborhood. What's going to happen to the runoff and what they'll do with the back of the property. I held the developer to task, and if we have time later, I can talk to you about the M&M theory. But the beautiful picture that they showed us of their proposed development, I asked them if they knew what climate zone we were in, because they had beautiful pictures of palm trees. Now, I felt a little bad having to poke the architect about that, but it's true. If you are looking at a prospectus in Waltham that has palm trees, it immediately makes you distrust the prospectus. So again, the hearing was recessed. It's going to be coming back before the council on January 13th. I urge all the neighbors and the abutters to come to the next council meeting on the 13th, and please speak up, ask questions, and I can share those plans with you. There are plenty of things to question. And as I mentioned earlier, the ongoing threats that we deal with day in and day out, traffic, safety in our neighborhoods, protecting our single-family zone neighborhoods, particularly from irresponsible and insensitive non-resident owners, protecting parcels of land in the ward that we can from development. We have some parcels that are in close proximity to perennial and seasonal waterways, and this is parcels that you wouldn't even think about: Sibley Road, Keach Terrace, Keach Street, Charles River Road, and managing the special permit potential of commercial properties in the ward. So that's enough of the negatives. Let's look at some opportunities. Route 128, 20, 117, Green Street interchange, the rebuild, the dead ending of Stowe Street, and the widening of the 117 bridge. This project is going to be funded by privately by a group of developers. And although I can't report on a start date yet, it's still TBD, we do need to discourage further development, especially west of Route 128, until our roads can handle the traffic and we can take the burden off of Stowe Street in our neighborhoods. I can show people what it looks like, and I was just talking with a resident. There's this incredible scale model of our neighborhood. It's something out of a James Bond movie that the developers have built. It must have cost millions and millions of dollars. It looks like a model railroad from Cedarwood to Taunton Pond Road. But it's an excellent indication of what this new interchange looks like and it would work. And I'm trying to, they said that they would entertain me bringing people there. So if there are people interested in seeing this, I can organize a small group to come and see what this new interchange will look like and how it works. As part of this, the residents of Livingstone Lane have waited long enough for noise barriers, for Sibley Road portions as well. At Cedarwood and Route 20, that intersection, bad signage and signal placements along with the dangerous exit ramp, the Circle of Death from 128 North, all controlled by Mass DOT, not the city. Mass DOT controls Route 20 from the highway to Eddy Street. And I've been talking with them and trying to have discussions and work with them for really what are modest improvements to that intersection that would render big safety improvements. So to summarize, I presented the basics, the start of our SWOT plan, highlighting the Ward 7's our strengths, our weakness, our opportunities, our threats, and I hope you were able to find this information useful. And before we start with the Q&A, I do want to just ask for the following guidelines: that people use the microphone and pass it around so that everyone can hear the questions. We can bring it over to you, or you can come up to the microphone. Please state your name. If you don't want to give your full address, that's fine. Give your street address if you don't want to do that. Just say what neighborhood you live in, please. Please, everyone, be respectful of other points of view. And I do not pretend, I hope I made that clear at the beginning, I don't know everything. So at times I'm going to invite the mayor or another counselor, if it's in their ward even, to answer these questions. But I will take your questions, and that's it. I am done talking. How long did I take? Too long. Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to take notes as you talk, so please don't think I'm being rude. First question, does someone want to come up, or would someone like me to bring a microphone to them?
working? Hey, everybody, I am here on invitation from Paul Katz from Ward 3. I'm here because I reported on Paul's vote on the Waltham Fields Community Farm, and he took exception to the way that I represented it, but he would not discuss the matter with me in writing. So he invited me today, and I'm going to give my side of the story. Let's get some background if you haven't been following the news. The Waltham Fields Community Farm is a nonprofit that does farm education, children's programming, and grows food for a CSA program that offers discounts to low-income residents. They donate food to Waltham Public Schools and Healthy Waltham and are a critical part of our social safety net and have operated in Waltham for 28 years. In 2022, the last 2 sessions of the year, the mayor put forward a proposal to remediate several areas of pollution in Waltham Fields Community Farm after leaving the farm in limbo about their tenancy status all year. The documents related to this proposal totaled over 3,000 pages and was presented to the councillors in the meeting with no time to review them. The council approved the plan. Shortly afterwards, the Waltham Fields Community Farm started calling for help from the community. Turns out this plan included splitting the farm into 2 parcels and blocking access to critical parts of the farm, including a greenhouse where seedlings are started, the place where farm equipment is stored, buildings used for community education events, and even entire uncontaminated fields. The farm pointed to the pollution could easily be cleaned up without blocking access to these parts of the site, and a way that would allow most of the regular activities to continue. They asked the public to call their city councilors, asked them to vote no on the final proposal. Paul Katz voted yes. Paul claimed on the council floor that although he had received lots of contacts in support of the farm, he read the 850-page remediation document, a truly unbelievable 4 times, and decided that it was in the people's best interest that he vote to split the farm in half. He even took the time to speak at length about how his campaign, whose slogan was, "Our voice for a change," was about listening to constituents before he voted against their will. Since that vote, it has been revealed that the mayor intends to create some kind of a corn maze on one of the plots, and the city put out a survey asking residents if they would have interest in personal gardening plots. Now, everyone knows that the first rule of helping someone is that you do what they ask you to do. Why did you choose to ignore Waltham Field Community Farm's ask if you claim you support them?
Okay.
I have follow-up questions.
Do you want to ask the follow-ups now and I'll try to cover it?
Why should anyone reaching out to you for help trust that you will do as they ask going forward? What actions are you taking to make sure that Waltham Fields Community Farms does not collapse and will be able to use their previously used land in the future? And if the farm ends up unable to operate this year as a result of your vote, will you step down from office? I would like to point out that Waltham Fields Community Farm put out a letter in January saying they still don't know how they're going to operate this year, with a timeline of farm operations that dictates by the seasons, because we're growing plants, what they have to do and when. We have blown past January's already.
I've got 4 management. Didn't know where to go if it was an emergency.
I would appreciate your answer.
All hearsay, not fact, not science.
So, no, I appreciate this question, and I'm going to answer some things. And I need people to understand and respect there will be some things I won't touch on, not because I'm trying to avoid it, because there are some legal issues that will be before the city, and I don't want to bias myself or threaten any position, whether it's of the city or of the farm. So that said, one of the hardest things that we do when the bottom line, this comes down to change. And when you're trying to do the right thing, as you pointed out, is that some people, like this gentleman who just spoke, are right. Change is hard. People are going to be impacted. Decisions have consequences. People are going to feel wronged. And like I said before, I'm trying to look at what's right for each situation that we have. And more specifically, what am I being asked to do at that specific moment, and what is that specific vote about? Understanding that there are repercussions. And like I said before, it addresses questions such as, am I going to second guess myself? Am I going to think I did the wrong thing? I want to address specifically the 800 pages, and maybe I misspoke or used the wrong words, but I want to clarify what I meant by that. Yes, we did receive a packet of 800 pages about a week before that vote, 4 inches. Of those 800 pages, what I said at City Council, or the point I was trying to get across, was I organized and reorganized that package 4 times to make sure I would understand it. When you're handed information, we get piles of information. The bulk of those 800 pages were lab readouts. They're lab printouts. 6-point type of every single chemical and element known to mankind, and the testing as a result of different borings throughout that site. That was the bulk of that material. Other materials in there were leases from the lessees on the property, and summaries from of the RAM plan and the environmental people that summarized the report. So if it was construed that I tried to say I read 800 pages, I apologize for that. I read the pages that were meant to be read. The bulk majority of the pages of the lab readouts were summarized in a readable format. But every single page was scrubbed through looking for something, and it was reviewed. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I have to put information in an order to help me understand what's in front of me, and that's what I did. Sure, like I said before, I would second guess myself from time to time. I've made my share of mistakes, if some people want to think that. And I've probably made more mistakes than most people in this room have. But one thing that I'm very, very proud of, to take a step back, is that the city burned the midnight oil, the people that made this acquisition happen. Like I said before, if Bentley had bought this property, I wouldn't be answering this question tonight. State Rep Stanley, the mayor, a ward councilor, made the purchase happen, got UMass to agree, because the time period where UMass had acquired the property from the Cornelia Warren family had expired. They didn't need to give it back to the city. So a lot of people worked hard just so that we could get this land back and use it for farming and open space. And my job going forward, my intent, is that we're going to work really hard so that more people, including the farm, will get more benefit from this purchase. We saved the land, and I'm really sorry about that. And some people are going to be impacted. This gentleman is completely right. Some people have a lot of things to figure out. Some people are going to think that I don't know what I'm talking about, and they might be right. But in my point of view, as hard as it is, and for change to happen, psychologists, psychiatrists, friends of mine, they make a good point. It's that change requires 2 sides. You have to, change is forced on you sometimes, but it can be reacted to, it can be responded to, but you have to want to make it work. So that's what I'm talking about. I just think that it's hard. I recognize the impact, but we can get there. We can make it work. and we can be in a better place than we absolutely could have been had the city not made this purchase happen.
Would you like to answer the questions?
I feel that I answered the question. Like I said at the start, based on not being able to bias myself and cause hurt either to the city, to the residents that are here, and even to the farm. And farm is definitely in my sights. That's all I can say about this at the time.
I'm John Allen, Ward 7 resident, and I would appreciate it if everyone who stepped up here to speak would identify themselves, including the gentleman who asked all those questions. Thank you.
My name is Daniel Sari, and the farm was bought because 7,000 residents signed a petition, not because the city government spontaneously decided to do it.
Thank you. We will. Anyone else want to operate a microphone up or?
My name is Paul Warren. I live on Everett Street. First of all, I want to say thank you to the mayor to get the paving done. But since the paving, we have a speedway.
Yes.
Also, if me and my wife sat out there one night and watched at least 5 to 10 cars come down the wrong way. We have a lot of dog walkers. We have a lot of kids who walk those streets. We have a massage parlor at the beginning of the street. That gentlemen park their cars in front of our house, and we have to watch this. It's disgusting. First of all, they come down going 35, 40, 50 miles an hour. Love to have a speed bump. Not one of those ones that acts like a wall, but maybe one that slows the cars down. Something has to be done.
So Everett Street is one of the 10 or so issues that is before the Traffic Commission. I spoke to it in November, maybe December, that there are cars that are going the wrong way.
Constantly.
I almost was one of them when I was coming from Veronica's trying to find a parking space, and I used that at the Traffic Commission to say the best driver in Waltham. Almost made that mistake. That was a joke. But that is before the Traffic Commission. They are investigating it to make sure the right signage is in place. About speed bumps, I hear you, and I'll ask for that too. The city has a warehouse, I'm not speaking literally, but I believe that the city probably has a warehouse full of stop signs and speed bumps, but getting one is a monumental task. The traffic engineer does not, he looks at every situation individually, but it is very hard to get agreement for a speed bump. He doesn't believe in them, but it doesn't stop us.
So Weston, Belmont, Watertown, it's all right to have?
Well, we bring that up constantly. We bring up examples of over here, in this city, and believe me, strobing stop lights, stop signs, I'm sorry, and strobing traffic signals as well. I will ask for everything, and that's one of the things I did.
So when we have to bury somebody, or a dog gets run over,
So
a speed bump might be able to save it.
you have complete agreement from me, but again, we will keep it in front of the Traffic Commission. To that point, we did have a resident, I just want you to understand how difficult this is. We have a resident in the West End, the Cabot Street neighborhood, that lives on a corner, four-way corner, that was actually hit by a car in front of her house. She was pinned to her house. And the mayor and I stood there and asked for a four-way stop sign, and we were declined. So we fight, we fight, we fight. I will never let up fighting. I will never let up asking for it. Everett Street is being looked at, and I'll let you know what happens with it. But definitely not.
I mean, this is bad.
Yeah.
Why can't we just have an opposite?
The south side has 2 stop signs and 2 do not enter signs, because it goes, the south side is one way, and I'm a resident of Everett Street. I travel down the south side every to do not enter. Why is it that they get them, but the other side of Waltham doesn't?
Like I said when I was the sheriff, I wish I could go around and put them up myself. I almost did that at the bottom of the hill at Cedarwood.
With the neighbors.
It's before the traffic commission. It's being handled the right way right now. They make mistakes. One of the other issues I raised was the timing of an intersection. I can't remember exactly which one, but it's one of the traffic signals on South Street that a resident brought up. He says, I'm sitting here forever, the traffic backs out. And I'm thinking, yeah, everyone thinks that they're sitting at a traffic signal forever. It went before the traffic commission, and lo and behold, the timing was off and it's being addressed. Sometimes, to your point, they go to these streets and they acknowledge that the signage is suboptimal. So it will be addressed. Can't promise it, but we're working on it.
What's the basis of your objections to
The traffic commission follows a very, from my experience going before them, we have a traffic commissioner, Mike Garvin, who's the traffic engineer, and the traffic commission that's made up of other department heads in the city, fire department, wires, planning. The traffic commission makes the proposals and the responses to the inquiries from councilors or the community and the mayor too. The mayor doesn't get everything she asks for either. They follow a very strict science and a process to it. I'll give you an example. I was asked for a four-way stop sign at Morton and Sunnyside. It's a bus stop, school bus stop there. There's an MBTA bus stop there. There's a park with crazy parking, which is another subject. And trucks going through there. Supposedly a sleepy street, anything but. And we asked for a four-way stop sign there. When I read the traffic commissioner's report, I'll cut to the chase, it was approved. But there were about 4 or 5 very specific things that it has to be judged against. And let's say it was 5, we failed 4 of them. It doesn't matter that there are kids, none of that mattered. We failed 4 of them, but there was one thing we were able to squeak by. There is a process, and there's probably some good behind it, that it keeps us from becoming a city of stop signs and highways. But there are some things that we scratch our head at. And believe me, it's not just Ward 7. I see my fellow city councilors just, we're banging our fists on the table and just saying it makes no sense. And sometimes it's like people aren't stopping at the stop sign. And we need...
It's not a stop sign.
No, I'm
But
saying...
I want to get back to Eric.
Yeah.
It's a simple do not enter one way.
And-
All you say, all these buildings are coming, traffic's gonna get worse. It's a simple sign.
Yeah.
That's all.
So we will, again,
It's a comfort. It's getting bad.
yeah, so then I'm going to let the mayor have some thoughts on this.
Councilor Durkee. Councilor Durkee, how many times did it take you to get the four-way stop?
It took me 3, but it took a total of 30 years and 13 tries at traffic commission.
I'm not going to go 13 years. I'm not going to be here 13 years.
We have to put it again before them. I've put that 10 times, and see, they are independent of us. Even though some of them are department heads, they do not work for us. They're separate. And they're supposed to look at it objectively. The problem is, sometimes it's black and white. So we have to produce the data for them as to why can you get it. Sometimes we have to go back to them. I'm happy to do that again. I just wanted you to understand. I know what it is.
Did you want to?
It is something that.
So my name is Judy Campbell, and first of all, I want to thank you, Paul, for how responsive you are to any email or any communication. And I live on Summit Ave. The mayor and you have heard from me many times, but I come to you so that maybe you could bring a message to those groups that you have to bring it to, or those folks, because 8 years ago when we bought our property, we were told spring, then fall, then spring, and it's gone on and on. The end of Summit Avenue, coming down from and a lot of the roads do look wonderful. I mean, you could lose a tire, a small car, I don't know, in some of the potholes. No, but seriously, if you could bring that message, I keep getting emails about the engineers looking into it, the bids have gone out, somebody's looking at it, but it is really, I think, probably the worst patch of road in the city. So anything you can do, both of you, I would appreciate it.
The traffic engineer hears from me on that every 2 weeks. So,
My name is Allison. I live on Nathan Road. And so my question is, when you come out of Nathan Road towards Main Street, and Veronica's is on your left-hand side, and you're looking up Main Street going west towards Market Basket, there's cars, trucks, huge trucks, cars, everything. You can't even see getting out of Nathan Road now. So much so that I have now come out Everett Street now, because where Everett Street is, at least there's no parking on the left-hand side, and you can see up Main Street. So maybe those first 2 houses on Main Street, I don't know if anybody lives there, have no parking in front of their houses. I mean, it's just really bad that you can't see from to your left looking up towards Market Basket.
I will bring that to the traffic commission to look at the safety. I used to live on Eddy Street.
Well,
So
Eddy Street has
Eddy Street has a light, and I am
that would be great.
fearful of left turns. I will only make left turns at traffic lights, but I will have the traffic commission look into that.
Greetings. Trina Moore on Ravenswood Road. And I was hearing you earlier, I think, say that we now are going to have 2 dispensaries pretty much right next to each other on Main Street.
We will not have 2. We have 2 proposals in front of us. There are 4 allowed, 3 have been granted.
Yes.
There will be soon 3 remaining that can fill that 1 slot. So the 3 potential applicants that are left for that 1 remaining slot is 1250 Main, or potentially 1256 Main, or this other one on Bear Hill Road.
Okay, so it's not that we're going to have.
At this point, it would be impossible for Waltham to have 2 pot shops on Main Street,
Okay,
because 3 are already accounted for, there's only 1 left.
thank you. Anyone else on with that? Thank you. My name is Susan. I'm also a resident of Everett Street. All right. My concern is, what was the ruling in regards to the 18-wheelers for food delivery in the Market Basket? The signs that are at Everett Street, 80th Street, and Stowe Street saying that the 18-wheelers couldn't go down the streets. But I'm a resident, and it's probably the mayor could chime in on this too. I think Everett Street needs the sign too.
Yeah, so that predates me, I don't know what happened.
So the trucks coming in early in the morning
Yeah.
have to go down to Main Street, go into Bank Square, take the left and go up Main Street. Well, I am an early bird employee, and I'm out walking my dog early in the morning, and the trucks are going down 80th Street, and there's no sign saying the, the weight.
Right.
So how come everybody else got a sign and Everett Street didn't, to take no left-hand turn?
Great question.
So we need to address that.
I'll again, inform traffic commission, but I don't know if you know any background.
None of them are supposed to go to the side streets, so we have to.
Yes, Everett, yeah,
The Main Street.
Stowe Street has one, Eddy Street has one, and Vernon Street has one. Well, there's Everett Street, and they're going down,
There is.
taking the left.
And there's concern also on Vernon Street. To paint a dream for you, for maybe 4 years from now. But the rebuild of the interchange would eventually solve that. I know it's not today, but we will get
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Lamb. I live on Stowe Street, and the reason I'm here today is because I heard that, there would be 2 pot shops. And usually, when I go to Market Basket, I come from Clinton Street. So to me, I'm thinking, you know what? I got 2 teenager boys here. I said, gee, they'll be happy, right? But to me, I'm like, wrong location. If you're gonna have that, go into a commercial area. Not around this beautiful community right here. So for me right here, I know we as a community right here, if it was something that creates solutions, beautiful. But to me, that's going to create a lot of problems for our police department, where they're going to be, getting calls and they're going to be, playing cat and mouse right here. So to me, hopefully, you can hear my voice, but hopefully this will not happen. If it did happen, hi Mayor, how you doing? She knows me. I would say you would be very disappointed.
So 2 things. Pot shops, after the public hearing, where all councilors have a chance to ask questions, then it goes, as other issues go, it goes before a special committee. In this case, it goes before ordinances and rules. That really does, with working with the legal department and other teams, does some serious due diligence before it. If it makes it out of there, it goes before the city council, and to be honest with you, I'm one of 15 votes. What influences the ordinances and rules committee, and ultimately other councilors, if it makes it out of there, is the community input. So what I urge you to do and other nearby abutters is for 1256 Main, because it's already in ordinances and rules, to send a letter to the clerk. That's the official way to do it, to the city clerk, expressing your concerns. And it gets added to the record that we have another citizen that's concerned about it, because we've heard from several already, and it's never enough. For 1250 Main, and I'm going to walk that area, especially to the abutters. I encourage everyone to attend the next council meeting on the 13th, and if you're unable to, again, send the letter to the clerk's office. But for me to stand up and say, the neighborhood doesn't want this, it doesn't bear the weight of, or the credibility of the people showing up to say that. So I urge you to come to that next meeting and or to send some letters.
So besides letters, how about email?
Yeah, by email. Yes,
Yeah,
send it by email.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to hear my concerns. So,
No, thank you for coming.
good night, everyone. Be safe.
Henry Steve Kaiser, I want to address this to
Come a little closer.
I want to address my question to the mayor. Mayor?
Yes, sir?
Hi, yeah, my name is Steve Kaiser, and right before the election last year, you assured us that Summit Avenue was going to be addressed. We've been promised that for 8 years. It's going to be addressed. Basically, it's Summit Avenue. There's no avenue there.
Okay.
The road actually improves through erosion. So I'd like to know what is going to be
I
happening.
apologize for that. Summit Avenue, the only reason why I can do it is because the city has an easement through. If it was a private way, it would have to go a different way. I did promise that. Engineer hired an engineer to design it and do all the drainage that goes with it. Okay? It's ready to go out, and I do apologize for the delay. It's ready to go out.
So when are we going to see something happen?
It should be going out very shortly. I have to go put the money in for it, put it out to bid and put the money in for it. It will be this year, because I know that the plans are ready now.
This year?
I went out this year.
Okay, thank you
I
very
do
much.
apologize.
As a box before, I have a strong 14-year-old at home that likes to sleep. So when you come getting stuff like As I've let you know before, I have a strong 14-year-old at home that likes to sweep. So if we need help getting that crap out of your driveway that gets washed in from the rain,
We paid to have it repaid, so we can let it
Okay.
driveway, so we're doing our part.
all right.
Hey, Paul Umbrello, Stowe Street. thank you for having us tonight. Great turnout. It's nice to see the residents come out. I want to thank you for inviting us. I guess I have more comments than questions. So one, I do apologize, which is going to be my point to everybody in the room tonight, missing the 12:50 meeting on the 23rd. I think it is important. I know the saying when they say you can't fight City Hall or beat City Hall, but as Paul said, and it can't be just Paul, it's when 2 of us, 5 of us show up, and I see councilors in this room, and we sit there and we vote opposed, they take that into consideration. When we don't show up, we don't show opposition, they're going to vote, and some decisions and the tough decisions you do have to make as councilors, pull either in, sometimes we don't agree with it. But I think it's very important, and it's challenging and difficult at times, especially the weather, but it's very important for us to try to be more tentative, show up to those meetings to show whether we support or in opposition.
Yeah, and just to clarify for people, if you come to a city council meeting for a public hearing, you're given a choice of speaking. You can speak in favor, in opposition, in neutrality. And if you're not comfortable speaking, you can simply stand. They'll ask if you want to just stand and be recognized. So don't feel that you have to come in and prepare anything. You can just showing up and standing up is sufficient.
So the other thing, which I haven't had time, but my understanding is for 12:50, it's 500 feet from any school, so there's a daycare at the top of Stowe Street. So I don't know if they consider the front door or the property lines, because that property does abut up to Stowe Street. So I haven't had time to go to Google Earth and measure it yet, but I'm assuming someone must have done that. But while I know that area, for folks that might not know, is kind of approved, it's really what we're all saying is that, whether it's 1256 or 1250, there's just so many houses around it, right? There's no houses. You can go to other towns. It's what I've testified, as you know, over and over. And you go to Watertown, you go to Arlington, there's no homes abutting marijuana dispensaries, right? And then my last comment I want to make is, and again, with the councils in the room and the residents, is we should, before we didn't even talk about the Bear Hill Wolfers Lighting development, we should all send those emails to every single councilor and be vocal that before 1362 Main Street, 1495, Wolfers, whatever else you want to add, the road improvements should be done before there's any more development. It's just that simple, so that the city and the streets and the residents can handle it. Thank you.
There was a proposal at the old Wolfers building, that sloped land. I didn't speak to it for 2 things. It's actually in Ward 1, even though it's more Ward 7, if you will. But also it was withdrawn, so it's not before the council anymore, so I didn't feel it warranted being spoken to tonight.
My name's Richard Lang. I'm from Edgewater Drive in Angleside. I have spoken to Paul about it before, and it's a broader than just Ward 7. What we saw in the newspaper was that Waltham potentially would lose hundreds of thousands of dollars because they haven't submitted a plan around the MBTA's requirement that they have 2 areas for intensive housing. And I was under the impression that the plan had to be submitted by the end of January to be able to avoid losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I wonder if you could give us an update, and maybe
You guys should let the mayor update this. This has been going on for some time. I mean, housing director, Mr. Goffinger, was here and stuff.
To answer your question directly, I usually send everything to the city council before I release it. I did indeed file a response to that with various items that will be discussed by the city council. And I filed it with the city clerk today. No, we do not lose the money. So, first of all, the state went in and took money from poor people. So we have provided millions of dollars to the housing authority because they don't receive enough money for their state units. So Mr. Collinger went in he has an organization of housing authorities, and he asked them to get together. There were several communities. So we believe that they shouldn't be taking money from there. So it was some kind of money that they tied to the lottery that was tied to that. They subsequently have changed that rule not to take money from poor people, and if they take it away from their subsidy. So the 300 down is down about 70,000, but as long as you file. So there are other concerns with the filing and the mandates that the state has made. The state is mandating over 3,900 multifamily units, 1/2 a mile from the 2 railroad stations. Now, Waltham, through years of the city council providing multifamily housing, they've provided a lot. It's a lot of density there now. So I have provided over this whole process to them. One size does not fit all. So we have complied with what they've asked us to do. They're going to go over the various housings, in addition to which the city council master plan committee has asked me to give them some funding from a zoning expert so that we'll look at all the things. But if you look at the density in the downtown now, and I listed all of the properties that are there, and our railroad is not a frequent railroad. 50 years ago, there was a plan to actually elevate the 2 stops within the downtown so that it would help the frequency of the trains to be able to go, stop and go with all the traffic. They have to stop at Moody, they have to stop at Elm. So as a result of that, we've asked to look at that. So there's a lot of stuff in there. It will be going to the council on Thursday, but I filed it already. So they will get it as part of their packet. And then there's a timeline and everything else. But that's the issue. There's 2 sides of this. I'm not opposed. As a matter of fact, we have built affordable housing in the city, 19 affordable units, with the expert of the persons in the housing department. We've also have 19 affordable units at Hardy School that we haven't had to raise the rent at all since 2014. So we believe in truly affordable housing too. So in Waltham, most of these market rate things are luxury units. The rents are luxury. So we're trying to provide more flexibility. So that's what we said to the state. Now the state has a goal. They believe that the entire state, the whole future of the state is dependent upon housing. And as I have said to everybody, one size doesn't fit all. The fact that the Waltham City Council used transit-oriented development and gave all of these waivers to seek these units there. In fairness, some of them are needed. But if the more that you're going to make me put in almost 4,000 more units in the downtown, I only have 2 train stops in Waltham. One is at Moody, it's Carter Street, but they have either side of the railroad, and the other, as you know, is in Brandeis. So 1/2 a mile. So that is why I'm saying to them, you know, we'll do what you want, and as a matter of fact, we did all the analysis, thank you to all the city departments, including Attorney Azadi and the law department, but that's the issue. I have to remember what it's going to do to the people in Waltham too. So imagine I put 4,000 more units that they're mandating, and they said, oh, you don't have to do it, you just have to allow the zoning. Well, allowing the zoning basically makes it permitted. So the accessory dwelling units, I know that's been a concern for years of yours, and that's the thing. So we're going to study that with an expert. Council has asked that, Council Mike was here, Council Quinn are on the committee, and Council Katz. So we want to make sure that the rules and regulations for those things are there too. So it's been filed, but I went to the state. As a matter of fact, I was at the state when we went in. The city council all worked together with the CPC and the mayor and the Leland Home to provide $6 million to Leland and have 68 units of additional affordable housing. But one size does not fit all. Bank School was affordably priced. To this day, people can still, first-time homeowners, as well as people who are empty nesters, can still get an affordable condo at Bank School. It's thanks to the person sitting right over here. Yes, it is. And I'm going to say that. And she's now employed by the city's housing division, Colette Casey Brown. So the issues here is we need something more than just one solution. And you know, they have listened carefully too, so we're going to put that out to bid very shortly for the next one, okay? All right. So I did file it, and I did put it on time, and I received it.
Yeah, some of the irony of this too is that recently, a month or two ago, was when we found out that the MBTA was going to be cutting service to one end. So there was a bit of irony in that. So the mayor knows the history more than I do.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm John Allen, 7 University Park, and I have two concerns. We're beating on the traffic commission, well, here goes again. Number one is a rather simple and short-term thing that really should be done. Every year, the city replaces some of the loops of wire that are buried in the pavement that turn the traffic light green when a vehicle goes over. If you are familiar with them, you'll see the wire cuts before the intersection. The city has been replacing those with the same old design that's been obsolete since 1982, when the study came out, that does not work if you're riding a bicycle or a motorcycle. It requires a bigger vehicle. Because what it is an upside down metal detector. There isn't enough metal in a bicycle or a motorcycle to trigger them. So all that needs to be done to make those work is to lay the wires in a different pattern. It's been known, it doesn't cost maybe more than the cost of a little more wire and one more wire cut. And the result of this, if you don't do it, is that you are programming bicyclists to run a red light because it doesn't turn green. So I want to see this. I brought it up with the traffic commission, but I think we need some more, let's say, pressure on them to not just say, this is what Mr. Kelly, the Wires Commission, told me. Oh, that's how we always did it. I'd like to do it the right way, but that's the plans, that's the contract we have. And it doesn't have to be like that. It really doesn't. Now, in a more long-term issue, we have, as many people have discussed, issues with traffic, and I'm certainly hoping to see some of them addressed. In my neighborhood, in Cedarwood, we have vehicles now using Waze to say, oh, well, now I can get off Route 20, Weston Street, and cut through on Villa Street. And so we have people driving through our neighborhood who really don't care too much about the issues of safety and pleasant neighborhood environment. There are ways to deal with that, and it's a big long-term issue. Doing things like one of the commenters here said, a speed hump, not a speed bump like they have. Some of the little tiny ones, which are really bad if you're on two wheels. But speed humps, looking at one-way streets, barriers, diverters, to change the traffic pattern so neighborhood people can get in and out, the fire truck can come in, but people won't be using it as a cut-through. So I'd really like to see that for the long term. Also, I want to applaud the city for what it has done for the rail trail. I mean, this is pointed to the mayor. Yeah, that's finally happening. It's really something we've been looking forward to for a long time. And thank you all.
Thank you. And you did send me information on the wiring that I've gone gone through it, but we will get that.
Yeah, I already have it on my blog.
Yeah.
Just send you a link.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Amy Esposito. I live in Cedarwood on Intervale Road, and I am on the board of directors of Healthy Waltham. And I want to say thank you for your attention to Healthy Waltham, and thank the mayor and all the city councilors for their attention to City Waltham and their historical support. The organization recognizes the support that the city has been given, but the reason that there is a lot of noise right now is because we're facing a housing crisis as far as after March 31st, the organization does not have a place to distribute food for its food pantry, which serves 450 families and sometimes more every 2 weeks. This is also happening at a time when the federal COVID food stamps relief program is about to end. So even though the organization is, last week they served at the pantry that you volunteered at, they served 450 people. There's good reason to believe that more people are going to need those services as the SNAP emergency COVID benefit ends. And it's a pretty large operation, and they really need to know where they're going to be operating in April and going forward. And I think that that's why people are contacting the mayor, that's why people are contacting the city council, not because we don't appreciate everything that you've been doing, but that we really need a plan, and there are a lot of logistics. It takes time to plan. We really can't wait until March 31st to know where we're going to hold our April pantry. And so I just ask that everyone recognize that and try to have some kind of plan, whether it's, the ideal plan would be extending Fitch until we find a permanent place to be, or even a short-term place to be. We recognize the RFP process, and that there are places that will be able to bid on through the RFPs, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to help us between now and April 1st. So there really needs to be a short-term solution.
Would you like me to answer it?
Yes, please, I would love.
So, I've been a supporter of Healthy Waltham from the beginning, everybody knows that, so I'm not gonna get into that. But there is a proposal.
Microphone.
Excuse me, thank you, sorry. The proposal that I'm sending to the council, which we can't, they can't talk about because they're gonna have to bid on it, or vote on it, excuse me. So based upon that, there is a possibility that the storage as well as the market will be accommodated by a bid, and I have to open that bid to everyone. But I have made that very clear to Miriam from the very beginning. We have to address some of the issues with regard to all of the people on the streets. I believe there should be a very respectful, dignified market, and I don't believe people should be out in the streets, in the cold, running through traffic and everything else. So these proposals that I'm setting forth could provide a solution for both the market side of it and the storage side of it. But there also has to be some movement towards that. So you know what I mean? The very beginning, the market model is the way to go. And right now, I think that based upon those talks that we've had, they are amenable to that now, as opposed to just let everybody come with the big boxes and everything else. So I think if we can work that out too, so that, all hours of the night that we have to have the people here and things like that. So we're trying to make it a more efficient market too, and I think they're open to that. I have worked with 3 board members, and they all agree now that that's what they're going to have to move towards that, and that's why they've been looking for a storefront. Now, every time they go for a storefront to look for one, something happens. At the last minute, the landlord backs up. But there is flexibility, but I have to know that there's going to be movement towards that model, because that model is imperative to have it dignified and efficient. And that's all I would like to say.
Okay, yeah, so as a member of the board, I can say that we're not only amenable to that model, that is our ideal model and the model that we want to work towards. And we're really happy that you agree that that's the right model. The problem is permanent space. And as you know, the organization has been looking even through a private realtor, for permanent space as early as last spring, March or even earlier. And as you mentioned, private landlords have not wanted to
That's correct.
rent to us.
So-
And so, that leaves us in a position where we all want the same end goal, but we need to take steps to make sure that we're still serving the community until we get there.
Yes, I agree with that, but that always wasn't the goal, and that's the problem. I've been saying this for 4 years, since COVID, and I can understand COVID, but COVID's over now, so I have to get a model that works for the citizens too. I can't have the traffic all backed up and stuff like that, so those are the things that I know from Maureen, from Bill Burgess, from Donnie Lucenti, and now from you, Ben. That's also your goal, then I think it can be worked out, I really do.
Thank you.
Talk to Councillor Stanley and the mayor, because the state has mandated that the zoning boards should get a majority vote to approve something, and Waltham has a 3/4 vote to approve something. And I want to ask Councillor Stanley, he was supposed to be helping us aged people, which is most of us here on this side anyway, and we need to make it easier for us to have our accessory dwelling units. Now, I had mine cancelled when it had been used for 20 years by the previous people, and it was cancelled because it was a 3/4 vote over a majority. I had the majority. So I want to know from you and the mayor, the state has said it should be a simple majority, not a super majority. When is that going to happen? Because we've been waiting for so long, at least 4 years since we applied.
Commonwealth is coming in, and I'm pretty sure they're going to mandate everything similar to what they've done with the multifamilies. Right now, they haven't done that. I don't get to vote on that because I'm mayor and not a legislator. But if there's a mandate, then we will have to comply with it. But right now, it's not a mandate. And
Why can't we do it anyway? It will help us.
Okay,
if we do
well,
it now.
the current law provides that it has to be 4 out of 5. So if the state law changes, then we'll have to comply. But we can't on our own, unless, we can't just on our own decide not to comply with state law.
Are you sure it's not mandated already? Because I read in the Globe that it was.
Well, special permits are, I believe.
No, this is for the zoning boards to have just a simple majority,
Okay,
not
then I
a...
stand corrected then.
It's here. But we don't have it in Waltham. Why?
I know what you're talking about. I don't have a good answer for you right now. I just haven't been on that issue recently, but obviously, something that we did a lot of work on in the legislature. I know it's a phased-in process, but if you want, I know you've emailed me in the past for an email, I could be happy to.
But you never get back to me. I sent you documents after documents and nothing. Just either. Please, can you get me back on this point? Because it's very important to my neighbor just over the way, who's looking at this issue. There's at least 4 or 5 of us just in our little peninsula who want this. And we're tired of waiting. And if it's there in the state, we should have it in Waltham.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see if that's a local option. I will do that tomorrow, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, everyone knows hopefully where to find me. I want to thank you for coming out. It was great. Thank you for asking the questions, and I look forward to staying connected.